You know, I think I'm finally getting into the flow of being a booktuber because all I want to do is make tier lists and get in fights about fantasy. Hello, my name is Andrew Givler, and today we're going to be fighting about Wheel of Time. I'm a booktuber and author and also other YouTuber, but that one's less important. And today we're going to be talking about what is probably the most fundamental, foundational epic fantasy series for me, the Wheel of Time. Now, I freaking love the Wheel of Time. We're going to dive into this, but we're going to be doing a tier listing of all the books. So we'll be putting the best books in the best category, the worst books in the worst category, and going through it. As a note of warning, if all you've seen is season 1 of the Wheel of Time, which is all that's out right now, we're definitely going to be talking about some things that you don't know and might be spoilers, although they're kind of going in their own direction with some stuff, so maybe not. Please bear in mind, even if I rate one book poorly, this is truly one of my favorite series of all time. You should read every book once. So if you guys like this kind of content, you want more of it, hit the like button because that's like literally a vote for YouTube to know that this is great. And also hit the subscribe button so we can help get this channel partnered so that we can help grow it and keep doing this to pay the bills. So here we go. We have this tier list. Somebody already built this for me. This was great. I didn't have to do any work. And we're going to go in chronological order. That's not true. We're going to go in chronological order, but we're going to skip New Spring. New Spring is a prequel. We'll kind of deal with that whenever I feel like it, but we're going to go in the chronological order of the series itself, which means that we start with Eye of the World. Eye of the World is really, really good. That basically covers most of what happens in season 1 of the Wheel of Time. For those of you who've been watching it, that pretty much was all of Eye of the World. For me, it's going to go A. It is not the best book in the series. It is the beginner book. It is a great beginner book, but it also takes its sweet freaking time getting going. You know what I mean? Like you have no idea the amount of content that got cut out of season 1, but if you've read the book, you know that they go on a journey. One of these days, I'll do a video talking about the Wheel of Time show. Maybe one of these days. That's for another one. Okay, so that's book 1. I love it. It's got some of my favorite stuff in it. Duty is heavier. Death is lighter than the feather. Duty is heavier than the mountain, which happens in here. It has the actual freaking Eye of the World, which is incredible. And of course, the discovery that Randall Thor is the dragon reborn. Ta-da! Next up is The Great Hunt. The Great Hunt is a solid book, right, where they're going on the hunt for the Horn of Valir. I like it. I think I put it in B though, because honestly, I could tell you that like while I remember what happens through that first arc of the books, I couldn't tell you anything that really happens in book 2 that like really mattered. That's not true. I mean, it all matters, but you know what I mean? Like it's not one of the foundational moments. We haven't built up to the big tempo yet. The character's still learning, they're exploring the world there. It's still world building, and it's great world building, but it's not really there yet. I think most of it's like Matt still getting over being like cursed by Ashedan, right? And like all of that, which is a great storyline, but it's not the most interesting. So I think I put it at B. I definitely put it at B when you consider that coming up next is The Dragon Reborn. And The Dragon Reborn, okay, hold on. I want to make sure that I am not getting this wrong. Yeah, okay, because these covers are not my covers. I have the old school covers, and so I was having a moment where I was like, Dragon Reborn is probably S tier, man. I really have to think the Dragon Reborn is S tier. So Dragon Reborn is where they take the Stone of Tyr, where Rand draws Kalendor, right, out from like the protective wards, and he fights Belal and defeats him. That's like the first time that Rand finally does something that's like really, really dragony, right? The intrigue that's going on, we get to see Lanfear for the first time. Oh, and Ishmael, right? Yeah. Or Ishmael. So like you start to see the Forsaken showing up. Everything that happens in this book is like we're kind of off to the races. Now I don't think that Dragon Reborn is going to stay S tier. So if you're not familiar with these lists, you read them left to right, right? So if we add another book to S tier and it goes on the other side, then it bumps down one. But like otherwise S tier, one of the ones that I do go back and reread because the epic moments. Oh man. Ishmael, dude. Ishmael was so freaky, and he's impersonating the Dark One and stuff. The first time, oh, I love it. I love it. Excellent S tier, no questions. Up next, we've got The Shadow Rising. I'm not actually putting it in C. This is A for me. The Shadow Rising is where Rand goes to the Aiel Waste, which is so freaking cool. The Aiel are so sick. If you're not familiar with the Aiel, they are essentially like the warrior race that used to be like pacifists, and in the fall of the world, the breaking of the world, have duty to prepare the way for the dragon. They have like all these prophecies of the dragon. They have a different name. They call him the Kara Cairn, King of Kings, isn't it? I think. Chief of Chiefs, that's what it is. The Chief of Chiefs, they have been like waiting for him, and that's like why they're invading, is to like find him and bring him back. So like this is the beginning of like Rand building his army and stuff like that. You know what? Shadow Rising, I'm sorry, I have to put it ahead of Eye of the World. Shadow Rising is sick. It's super, super good. You also have Matt going through the Twisted Door Frame, which like is a huge arc for everything. This is a great Dragon Reborn, Shadow Rising, and the next couple is probably like one of my favorite segments, like 4 or 5 like books in a row in the entire series. But we'll get to that. Okay, up next we have The Fires of Heaven. Fires of Heaven is S tier. Fires of Heaven is S tier. I think I will keep it. Ooh, what I don't know is whether or not Dragon Reborn is better than it. because Fires of Heaven has the Shido Ale, like doing all their stuff, right? But then it also has Rand realizing that there's a Forsaken in Camelin. And, what was the Forsaken's name? Raven. I always forget his name because of all of the Forsaken, he's like the one that doesn't get reborn. He's the one who doesn't get anything good, right? Because Rand kills him with Balefire, and that's how we learn why Balefire is like forbidden, why it's so powerful, that it literally like snips his thread in the pattern. He can't comes back. The attack on Camelin, where Rand just like loses his mind. If there's anything you know about me, I'm a huge sucker for I love the Chosen One. Chosen One can be written really poorly, but like the boy becomes man kind of thing, like where they come in, the hero comes into their power. So Rand going from like scared child to like walking into the capital, like one of the largest capital cities in the world, like just kicking the door open and being like, Forsaken. He's like, Raven, come and face me. Ugh, chills. I literally have chills right now. I remember reading that scene as a kid, freaking out, dude. So Fires of Heaven is S tier, and that segues us right into Lord of Chaos, and Lord of Chaos is the most S tier. Lord of Chaos. I don't think anything can knock Lord of Chaos off the top for me personally. I could be wrong. Lord of Chaos is definitely the book I've read the most in the series. Do my Wells. All the intrigue leading up, right? There's the Aes Sedai Tower is fractured. The two different Aes Sedai factions coming. The Shido coming. Rand getting kidnapped, getting tortured, and then breaking free as like all the channeling men show up and just put the world into terror as they rescue him. Do my Wells. The final scene where Tame appears and he's like, kneel and swear to the Lord Dragon Reborn, or you will be knelt, right? And there's just like all these Ashramans and they're all just like towering after all these years of being hunted down and killed for being insane and all that stuff. And then Demandred being like, have I not served well, my lord? And the Dark One just laughing. Yeah, let the Lord of Chaos rule. Might be the best book in the series. Book 6. Might be. Now we get to the great big sloggy middle. We've got a Crown of Swords. Crown of Swords is like pretty solidly C tier for me. Personally, my favorite character is Rand, right? This is the book I believe Rand is in the least, outside of the Dragon Reborn, where everyone's like looking for him, but he like shows up and has like a big thing. It's also just like, it's very political, it's very slow, it's very sloggy. It goes good places, but I don't ever really feel tempted to go back and reread it. I barely remember what's happening in it. I know that there's like all the intrigue with the Aes Sedai, like where they're separated in Saladar and stuff. But it's one of those ones that's just like, all right, we're going somewhere. Path of Daggers is also possibly the worst book in the series. It's between these two. Like, one of these deserves to be here and one of these deserves to be here. I think it's Path of Daggers. Path of Daggers is the only book, or like one of the few books, that doesn't end with like a triumph of the light. And I'm not saying that every book needs to end in triumph, but it's kind of weird compared to every other book where like the climax is kind of like a depressing climax, right? Rand's like using Kalendor. He doesn't know about like its weakness yet. Drives him insane. He hurts his own soldiers as well as the other one. The Ashraman turn on him. Matt's not in this book at all because he's injured. It's just kind of the scene chanter everywhere. Like it is a dark point, like it's the low point of the arc before the beginning of the build, but it's not necessarily exciting either. So I think I'm gonna put Path of Daggers in D. I'm willing to move it up to C maybe, but if so, I mean it's like both of these are kind of like playing this line. Never really feel the urge to reread it. It's the great big sloggy middle. Up next is Winter's Heart. Winter's Heart is hard for me because I think the first part of the book is not great, but the ending is incredible. So you know how I just dinged Path of Daggers for having a bad ending? Winter's Heart might be the best ending, or like Lord of Chaos level ending, right? It's the cleansing of Sidin. It's the battle, all the Forsaken showing up. It's the throwdown, and like finally, like the thing that's held over the entire series for 9 books is removed. But I think the beginning is a little weak for it, so I kind of want to put it about with Shadow Rising, like it's good. It's good, and it's like the way that they cleanse Sidin is super sick, and everything else, like I love it. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't think it's quite S tier material. I'm sorry to say. But it is the end. I believe it's officially the end of what we consider the sloggy mid. I could be wrong, but I think that's about where you're like, now we're getting somewhere. I misspoke. Crossroads of Twilight is the final book of the slog, I'm pretty sure. And I'm gonna put it in B. I think it's about Great Hunt. Big part of this for me is, again, Rand is my favorite character. The dragon is like what I care about the most. It goes Rand, then Matt for me. So Matt has a good storyline in here, right? He's getting closer to Tuon and the whole Sin-Chan royalty thing and everything. But Rand's like pretty much like, I'm tired. Cleansing Sidin was hard. And he's just like takes a nap. The ending is very sick though, when he like appears and the Sin-Chan finally agreed to like a treaty with him, and he comes out and just is like warping reality with like his Tavernness and stuff. There's some great moments in Crossroad of Twilight. But as a whole, I put it about Great Hunt. Great moments, but I don't remember it sticking out. It's not one that I like eagerly go back to. All right, so that's what we're calling B. I have reread everything in S and I've reread everything in A. I have reread both of the other ones in B, but like I'm never like, oh, you know what? I could pick up Lord of Chaos and read it right now. I'm never like that about the stuff in B, and I don't think I ever reread A Crown of Sword or Path of Daggers, ever. Maybe once, because I have read the series a couple times, but I skimmed, you know, like that's really the difference. Knife of Dreams. Okay, we're officially out of the slog. I think Knife of Dreams is probably A for me. I want to say that the main character getting maimed in a way that is unrecoverable from is one of my least favorite plot points. Because I feel like often, yes, you have a thing that becomes like the mental block that they're able to get over, right? But one of the things that was great about Rand was like he was like becoming a blades master. He was this like brilliant, you know, it was part of his identity and part of the adventure that we were on with, and it being taken away from us, the reader, too, I don't enjoy as much personally. So that happens in this book. We find out that Moiraine might still be alive, which is amazing. There's the battle with Semerhage, which goes really, really well. Like there's some great scenes in here. Knife of Dreams might even be above Eye of the World. Definitely not S. Definitely not S. If it was B, it would be number 1 in B, but I think that we're finally breaking back into like the A tier with these books. Next up, we got The Gathering Storm. Now, this is the first one that came out after Robert Jordan died. If you're not familiar, he got diagnosed with like a blood disease, I believe it was, and they knew that he was going to pass away, and he spent the last few years of his life working on the book, outlining it, planning it, detailing it, but he wasn't able to finish. Now, I know his wife basically chose his replacement. I thought he was involved too, but I'm not sure. But his wife chose Brandon Sanderson, which if you're going to choose somebody, I think is probably the best choice. I think Brandon did a great job, especially books 2 and 3. In this one, I think there was a few moments you're like, ooh, that felt more like Brandon than Robert. But the rest of the time, I almost can't tell who wrote what because Robert kind of wrote bits and pieces and then they filled in the gaps around it. So he wrote the ending, he wrote the finale, he wrote a lot of it, and Brandon just kind of brought it in for landing. Gathering Storm is... I think it's A, but I think it's the lowest part of A. I like it. It's got some big moments. Rand finally like no longer is depressed. They destroyed the Chodian cow because it's too powerful. But I also didn't really like that plot point. It felt a little silly. It was like, we have a weapon that's powerful enough to do something about it. Maybe it's too much power. Maybe get rid of it after. Whatever. You know what? It's fine. The Black Aja stuff getting revealed. Varen like showing her true colors is great. It's a great book. It's a great book. I have reread it. I will reread it again. But it's also a setup book for the last 2. And that's why it's like bottom part of A. Towers of Midnight. We got 2 books left in the main series. Towers of Midnight is S. Towers of Midnight is amazing. I have reread it many a time. The rescue of Moiraine alone, the reveal of Jane Farstrider, Rand al'Thor and Egwene finally being like the head of the Ashaman and the Aes Sedai meeting, planning. My only criticism about this is I hate that Rand just doesn't explain plans and like everyone panics and he's just like, so be it. If he just explained what he wanted to do, everybody would like take a deep breath and calm down. And so there's a little bit of forced tension just because people won't talk to each other, which I don't love. But other than that, S. Like, there's great action. Everything's coming together. It's that final breath before A Memory of Light. Memory of Light for me is also S. Man, this is hard. I think the Dragon Reborn... I think I have to move the Dragon Reborn down. I think that's actually how it goes. Lord of Chaos, Fires of Heaven... no, A Memory of Light is better than Fires of Heaven. I think it's Lord of Chaos, A Memory of Light, Fires of Heaven, or Towers of Midnight, Fires of Heaven, and The Dragon Reborn for the S tier. Also, like looking at this thing, the breakdown, there's 1 book in D, sure, and there's 1 in C. But from the main series, it's worth pointing out that 12 of the 15 books are in A or S for me. Like, that's incredible, right? Now, New Spring also, I'm going to put in B. I've reread it. It is a prequel. It's good. It's fun. It's fine. But let's focus on A Memory of Light. The ending is phenomenal. I think for a series this big, the way it's brought in for landing, every time I read it, I like it more. The Golden Crane flying for Tarmageddon. Chills. Matt being like the general that saves the day. Chills. Egwene's death. Sag. I don't have bad things to say about A Memory of Light. I'm happy putting it as the second best book in the series. I think it's really close between all of them, except for Lord of Chaos. Lord of Chaos is the best one. Sorry. Hands down. Boom. So that's it. That's my Wheel of Time book tier list. Do you guys agree with this? If so, hit the like button. If you disagree, hit the like button, but then also leave a comment and tell me like the order you would do instead. If you guys haven't read the Wheel of Time, I will be linking in the description below. Remember, buying that kind of stuff helps support me and the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next video.